Hey guys, Paul here again with a quick update. It's January 16th, and I just had a random thought I felt like sharing. I've been mulling over it for a fair bit lately. So, life on this planet, or, living things, or what we would in our science call living things and not just complicated organic matter, first popped up on this planet, rough guess, about 3.7 billion years ago. But it didn't start walking on land until about 3.2 billion years ago. And that's like bacteria living on land. That's not like things with legs moving themselves around. It took 500 million years for bacteria to arise that were capable of living out of the water, which, I mean, if you think about it, being underwater is a pretty great setup for operating a body. I mean, yeah, there's more resistance, there's more, friction wherever direction you move, but that friction kind of works with you because, you know, heavy, salty water gives things a lot of buoyancy. That friction is kind of what's keeping you up. I mean, compare that to, me walking around day by day. If I want to move from here to here, I gotta spend like this much energy moving myself horizontally and this much energy just keeping myself off the ground. That is stupid. What a silly setup to have. I can see why it took, 500 million years before even bacteria were starting to poke their heads out of the water. And you can imagine, at the start of the Cambrian era, the Burgess Shale, all these life forms came up. You had all these fish and crustaceans that had all these ways to move around, but they had bodies that pretty much could only move underwater. And it's like, we think about stuff, we think about moving around, our brains are equipped thinking like, all right, gravity, basically, if I want something to stay off of the ground, I need to invest energy to push it up off the ground and more energy to push it up to hold it there. What a dumb problem to be having. So I'm thinking about like life itself is something that can only happen if you've got, water is great for thermal ballast. It's great for maintaining steady temperatures, which is necessary for life. It's great for dissolving minerals and making them available in the environment. It's great for floating. So, g- geez, you think of like a jellyfish. If you take a jellyfish and put it on land, it'll just, and you got a dead jellyfish basically. But if you put it in the water, it has a body that, it can just chill out, be mellow, just hang out, be this horrible, agonizing death for hundreds and hundreds of fish throughout this life, but it's just chilling out, floating stomach, not really trying to do anything. Something that it would not be possible if it was trying to do it on land. And it got me thinking of like what I'm trying to do with my life, the personal changes, all my crazy, wacky future delusions of grandeur fantasy about how I want to make the world a better place. It's kind of like trying to engineer life on dry land without, going into the water first. It's like skipping the underwater phase and going straight to, all right, well, I want this to be a land animal, so I'll start evolving it on land. Because, I don't think about that. It's like, I keep trying to make a jellyfish work on land, and I keep just making jellyfish on land, and nothing happens because they just, and I keep trying and trying for I don't know, billions of years to use natural selection to engineer terrestrial jellyfish, and it doesn't happen because every time I take the jellyfish, it just. So maybe I need to set time aside and be like, all right, eventually this will be on land, but first let's spend a few hundred million years in a, flotation, zero gravity, zero G environment that, you know, wh- wh- where they only have to worry about the energy to move from here to here without investing several times that much energy, just lifting it up for the entire trip. Fish don't worry about like, oh, geez, how am I going to be able to stay off the ground? They just float. It's a lot easier for them. There's this whole variable that, in our human world, we constantly have to worry about gravity. It's like this commanding, all encompassing universal law that affects almost all of our decision making, which is an environment that's really hostile to, creating new life. It's great for existing life to adapt to, but for creating new life, it's incredibly hostile. So maybe if I have plans that involve, my ideas having legs that take them onto dry land, I should commit to spending a few 100 million years just creating an environment of, zero gravity, consistent temperature, so something that compared to what we do, I mean, without being able to breathe underwater, if we could breathe underwater, being underwater is like, wow, easy mode. Oh man, I can just float. It's like flying. I can fly with less effort than it takes to walk on dry land. It's a very nurturing, almost kind of like a nursery or a hatchery for life itself. I was going somewhere with this. It's supposed to be very poignant and touching and personal and, relevant, an analogy that you could take with you to the rest of your life. I'll see what I can think of next time. Stay warm out there. It is cold. Ugh. January.